enough again. More than enough from you. Death you. We're about through. I'm ready to go. Where something will grow, untaxed. Good earth, good sown. And come into our own. Rats, big rats, lay off our wheat. 2 years deceit. And now we're about ready to go. The low quo. Happy, happy land. Low quo. Good earth. Where we can earn our worth. Rats. Stonehead rats. They're our new truths. 3 years, no pay. We're about ready to move away. To some decent border town. Good earth, good sown. And make an end to this endless moan.
Yeah, just get it over with, man.
1H, 2 T's, a P, colon, 2 point slashes, 3 W's, a dot, Slade occupation, dot, tumblr.com.
I was there in 2007 when we ran through the streets naked, spilling carbonated candles of nonchalant animosity everywhere we went, as your guts rotted and the shouts could be heard from miles around. I was up there on Car Street when we were chased by a man with a machete who ranted about health and safety as the tanks racked up and the music flew through the snow and the sun. I was there watching while you squatted and pissed on the already dirty floor, laughing as your skull cried in unity with you about your inevitable future. I joined in when we laughed about how one day we would look back and laugh as we sprayed beer in each other's smiling faces and joined in the ritual of defacing our parents' names. I was the boy with the outrageous t-shirt beaming on the grass immobile in Alexander Park as you wended your way through the shower of base and cheap photocopied political flyers. I was there when we would talk about sex and queue up outside house parties, psyching ourselves up to do damage just to balance ourselves out. I watched as you were gleefully kicked down by authority figures as you strode around and about like a glittery little flea. We were the captains of our certain mission and we swore and took the bus up to Woodbridge late at night and stomped around the countryside as final tents caught fire and raw sewage piled up. I did the stupid little dance with you as we drank tequila until we fell over in the dirt, and then the next day we woke up and did the same thing all over again. Can you remember when we all sat cross-legged on the floor, smoking that gigantic spliff and inventing names for that kid who lived on Lancaster Road? Can you remember when Freddie took the rap for Brady when she stole that makeup from Boots and got an official police warning? Can you remember the smell of dry ice and anticipation as £5 notes fell from above and old women stared as orgies took place on that already dirty floor? Can you remember when we were angry at anything there was to throw a brick at? Can you remember how we whinged and smashed our heads against the wall when our audacity was beaten down? Can you remember how at the same time it didn't really matter? I was there by the riverside as we bathed our hides under the sparkle of the moon to the sound of rustling late summer leaves and cars on the highway in the distance. I was there watching you as you swept through the dawn until I said so long to your beautiful face when the crackle of music died down and the birds began whistling. I was there raging on that mountaintop with you people screaming at the gods and at our bare feet as the wind howled through our nylon rags and fog dripped from cracks in rocks. I was there when we lived down that lane, hopping and skipping away from that mountaintop where the sun retreated to the hills. Once beneath the blanket of a burning sky, with fistfuls of cigarette butts and uncontrollable giggling. We taxied up the hill to the top of the city to be next to the trees, and we sang a winner together with the excitement of spring in your room. We cried when the festival ended, and we packed what little belongings we had in fury and shame, and we longed for a shower. I can remember down on the beach in the baking heat when you went through a trough of olives as I dragged myself to hell as high waters lapped at the sand. Can you remember when I spat in your hair and you called me names, and we trailed aftershave, Vaseline, white wine, gin, fake tan, squirty cream, ketchup, blood, craft water, oil and orange juice all through the rooms in Elliot's house? Can you remember when we went through the ceiling stomping and shouting and playing guitars, and when Elliot ripped open his hand on the fire alarm wire and we had to pay for 2 service calls? Can you remember hitchhiking back from Holbrook late at night at 3 a.m. with our handbags and heavy arms and rough hands and our arms descending into oblivion with boxes in headlights and condoms on the dashboard? Can you remember running and running and running and running and fucking and shouting and running and dancing and bundling on the sofa and onto the bed and having tender moments too as the fire died down? Can you remember shouting and feeling as if you were about to fucking die and eating and nearly fucking dying and walking everywhere all the time and getting chicks at the end of